Good evening, friends. My name is Vivek Prakash, and I, along with my colleague Kalyan Raman, welcome you all in this sixth episode of the Project Management webinar. For the benefit of the first-time attendees, the Project Management webinar is initiated to support people who want to perform better in project management, want to clarify their concepts, to clear their PMP or other certification exam and renew their certification. Our effort here is to explain project management in simple terms, complex concepts in simple terms, address day-to-day challenges of the project managers across industries, help project managers to earn certifications like PMP, Prince2, etc. Help certified project managers to maintain their certification by earning PDUs, learn project management tools like Microsoft Project, Primavera, and other tools as such, make you aware of the latest trends in project management, and support in implementation of the best practices at work. So as you have joined this webinar, imbibe the concepts, certify, apply, and thrive. In this webinar, we will focus on project management life cycles. Why is it important to select the right life cycle? The various life cycles that are available to us. What will happen if you select the wrong life cycle, and how to select the right one. Okay, so let's get into this. And if you have any question at any point of time, please, you can drop this into the chat box. My colleague is there who will be watching it and will take the questions and we will answer them. Okay, so let's So this is the sixth episode, and we are talking about the project life cycles. We'll be learning about the various life cycles, why the life cycles are important, what type of life cycles are there, planning across life cycles, suitability of project life cycles in different circumstances, and selecting the right life cycle. And that's how we drive this. This is a very old image. Probably you all have aware of this, a traditional approach of project. So you start with writing objectives, business case, and roadmap, writing a project charter, then preparing a project plan, then executing it, then monitoring and controlling throughout the project from end to end. And once the project is over, closing the project. Now, this has been the rule for 50, 100 years, you can say, that the same theory is going on. And it's not like that it was not successful, it is quite successful, but probably many type of projects which may not be successful or may face problem if we continue with the same traditional life cycle or traditional way of working the project. And therefore, the different life cycles come into picture. And therefore, we are talking about this. So what was the issue with this life cycle? This life cycle talks about that we move in one direction. There are some changes expected, but largely it is understood what is need to be delivered. So the whole focus is on first identifying what is our objective, what is our goal, how it can be achieved, what we need to have to develop to achieve this, get complete clarity on the scope and requirement, and only then start the project. And once you start the project, it goes smooth and then deliver, but hardly any project goes smooth. Projects are taking time, and several times the situation around changes. The beneficiaries of the projects have different behavior, different expectation. Their expectation changes over time. And in that circumstances, if we deliver based on the original scope, original requirement, the delivery becomes irrelevant. And therefore, it is not that useful, or many times it does not solve the purpose altogether. And you find that the whole efforts have gone into the project, but it is hardly of any use or hardly useful. And a lot of money has gone into without much benefit. And therefore, the people thought of different ways of working, especially the software segment. When the IT segments come into picture, they started doing projects in 60s and 70s. And I will say majority of them is 80s, because 80s is where it is majority of the work is started doing. Earlier, it was like a slow pace as such. The people there was no example because there is no IT industry. The most organized industry was manufacturing industry, and therefore because a lot of work has been done already in 1670s in manufacturing. A lot of best practices were there, Six Sigma, Lean, and every day there was a new the new quality gurus were coming, and they are suggesting many good ways, and that were getting very organized on day by day. And so IT industry started picking all the processes from manufacturing industry. The manufacturing industry has a tangible outcome, and they used to deliver the project in a way like you are seeing the life cycle. That is a common life cycle which was used at that time also. And the same software people also started doing it. But there was a fundamental difference between a manufacturing product and a software. The manufacturing product was very tangible. You can see it, you can look, feel, and tell the person what you exactly need. You can build a prototype. But the software was very different. It is intangible. Until unless you operate it, you don't know what exactly you want or how it looks like, what it does. I see many like old age people at that time, including my relatives also who are aged. They don't know what as a software, what exactly the person is doing. There is nothing which is visible. So many times what happens, the software is got delivered, but when it got delivered, the customer or the users started telling that, okay, no, we don't need this, we need this, we need this, we need this. Looks like a project which was actually coming to an end. And looking at the changes at that point of time, you think that, okay, the actual project has started now. So a lot of to and fro, getting this, repairing it, and like a 1 year project has become 1.5 years, or even 2 years, or even more. And the requirement gathering and delivering based on the requirements what really become challenging. So many people have taken a different approach, especially at the programmer level. They said, getting all the requirements, get it done from the customers, build something for 6 months, then give it to him, and then work another 6 months is not making any sense. So why not let's sit near to the customer. Let's sit next to the customer, ask him what he wants. In a day or 2 or 3, whatever he has said, build it, show it to him. Then he said, okay, no this, do this. This is okay, this is not okay. Then spend another 2-3 days. Do as per the stakeholder or the users tell you, and then again show it to him. And then he suggests, no, do this, and added some more requirements, and then they develop this in a couple of days or a week time. Come back here. So it was like a continuous cycle, taking inputs from the user, building it, showing it to him, taking input from the users, There was no manager. There is no infrastructure. There is nothing but only user, the programmer, and the computer. But that turned out to be pretty good, actually. So at some point of time, many people who took this approach, because this approach, when anything would get successful, it has a little get widespread. That many people have started using this. They're using their own method, but basic principle was that sitting next to the customer or the user, asking him what he wants, what he is doing, developing it, delivering it in a few days or a week, kind of thing, or in a few weeks, you can say. So so those people come together and bring it together, all the common things which were there, build a manifesto called, and build a new life cycle called Agile life cycle. Now, iterative life cycles were not, and it was become iterative life cycle because we are talking about iteration. Iteration means is a cycle. I go to the user give me some requirement, 1, 2, 3, I develop it, give it back to him. That is one cycle. Then I use another cycle. So it is a 2-week cycle, 1-week cycle, 3-week cycle, max to max, 4-week cycle. Right? So it is happening continuously. The iterative cycle were not, by the time Agile come into picture, iterative cycles were not very, I will say, very uncommon. But such a short cycle was not very uncommon. So people did understand in software that this kind of big bang approach is not working, that you take the requirement and deliver after 6 months or 1 year, and then you start a new project. So they started some iterative life cycle, which was milestone based. So they get but the basic approach was get the complete requirement, get complete scope frozen, then deliver in some cycle, milestones. So one milestones, 2 milestones, 3 milestones, 4 milestones. So there was some kind of iterative life cycle was there. So iterative was not that like uncommon, but Agile has changed make the iteration really very, very small. So it was a 1 month, 2 month, 3 month. When we are talking about iteration in months, Agile was talking iterations in weeks. So, and it really very frequent. And that's how 3 type of life cycle come out in the picture. So you look at it, there are 3 types of life cycle come into picture. Primarily a predictive life cycle, which I am showing here to you. Right? And second turn out to be an adaptive life cycle. Adaptive life cycle, which is Agile I am talking about. That taking users' requirement, developing it, giving back to it in few days or few weeks. So two sides of the scale. One is no iterations. On other side is a very small iterations. But many projects may not be fitting in either of the extreme, and that's what happens, right? Pendulum. So pendulum, what is the problem with the pendulum is that pendulum come into the rest only at the extreme. Okay, either you talk about a waterfall model or you talk about it Agile. So either you go to that extreme or that extreme, but most of the time you see that pendulum remains only for a moment at these extreme stage. The rest of the time it is in between them. So a lot of predictive projects, a lot of adaptive projects, Agile projects, like we'll say, but a majority of the project still become hybrid because that's what suits to them most. And if I tell you today that the hybrid life cycle is the most common, we'll discuss about it, right? So what is a predictive life cycle? Predictive life cycle is something like this. You gather the requirement, you develop the design, you develop it, test it, and deliver it. This is we can call a big bang approach, right? Get everything, finalize it, sign it off, and then at the time when you deliver, like it takes maybe a couple of months or year, and deliver it. and get signed off from the customer. Have some kind of changes, accommodate some kind of changes, but not frequent changes are generally this cycle is meant for. The second life cycle, which I said on the other extreme, is the agile life cycle, which runs on a very small iteration. Now, if you consider this, this is also an iteration, but you can say single iteration. Whatever the duration of the project, maybe 6 months, maybe. But here it is too short cycle, very short. So what is the agile life cycle looks like is, and why, as I explaining, that you get the requirement from the user or the customer or the stakeholder, plan it out for a week or 2 week or 3 week or 4 week max to max. The most common is 2 weeks. Most common is 2 weeks. So let's take 2 weeks. So plan it out for 2 weeks, right? Then design this based on the requirement, and if some design is already available, like some product is already available, you are adding to it, you modify the design. Then develop the feature, test it out, deploy, and give it to user for use. The user will use it and give you the feedback. It will give you the feedback. It will tell you that, okay, this is working fine. Here the changes are required. And there are some additional requirement by the time has come up. So you add those requirements. So take some of those requirements, which you can do in 2 weeks, plan it out once again for 2 weeks, design it, develop it, test it, deploy it, and again go to the user, ask to accept it. We will accept something which is meeting to his requirement, and he will suggest some changes in some of the requirement and maybe give you some additional requirement. And this is keep going on till the time development is happening or requirements are outstanding. Right? Now, here, if I go here, the timeline is fixed. By and large, you will complete the project by the time. Here, requirements are coming every iterations, and new requirements come up. When it will finish, nobody knows actually. As long as the requirements are coming, it keeps going on. So that's a challenge, right? We will see how to meet this challenge and how the agile project come to an end. Now, this is something like this extreme or that extreme, but as I said, most of the like all unique requirements of the project, most of the time, either of the extreme generally do not work, and therefore they use hybrid approach. If one type of hybrid project, I'm saying one type of, okay, hybrid approach means a mixture of predictive and agile. Okay, any kind of mixture, right? Any kind of like blending. One type of blending you are seeing. So don't consider this is the only way blending. You can do it 100 ways. Okay, you can make it 100 ways. You can do this blending 100 ways. So don't. What it shows, I just show you this hybrid life cycle, is that collect the requirement. It's a big bang approach. Design, do a high day design. Again, the big bang approach, like this predictive life cycle, right? So first 2 steps are like that. Then we are designing, developing, testing, and delivering, right? And then we are doing an iterative cycle. That is something like this. So we are developing, delivering, developing, delivering. Once the product is complete, we again take a big bang approach, go back to the predictive life cycle or traditional Vim method, and deploy it, test it, deploy it, and get it accepted by the user. The chances of acceptance are much higher than the predictive. The amount of efforts the agile would be taking will be taking a little much lesser than the agile life cycle. So that way, somewhat the hybrid life cycle appears to be winning, and it is indeed winning. Their surveys have been done, and it is found that most of the projects currently being executed are hybrid in nature. But what kind of hybrid should be, that is also we will look into that. Let's look into some kind of comparison chart. Right? So what is this? In a predictive, in a hybrid or an adaptive life cycle, the phases are sequential overlapping. Here also in hybrid, the phases could be sequential overlapping. In adaptive also, the phases could be, or iteration, you cannot say phases, but the iteration. So iteration will be sequential or maybe overlapping also. Most of the time they are not overlapping, but they can be overlapping also. The scope is defined well in the beginning. In hybrid, scope is largely scope is defined in the beginning, or we relook at the scope before the phase also. But adaptive, the agile life cycle, the scope is defined only for the iteration. So final scope of the project probably we may never be knowing because it is all evolving. Now, what about the detailed planning? Detailed planning is done right in the beginning for the predictive. And as the project progresses, there is some kind of rolling wave planning can also be applied in case the projects are unfamiliar, right? That has some kind of iterative approach also. Now, detailed planning done for the phases. So phase could be phase could be 1 month, 2 month, 3 months, not necessarily in weeks. Generally, phases are not in weeks. And detailed planning is done only for the iteration. That is only for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, mostly 2 weeks. When predictive, you will use the predictive when product is well understood. You know what is the final shape and size of the product and that exactly what to be delivered. Hybrid we often use for large projects going on for quite some time, and there is a fair possibility that some of the thing changes because of its nature of large or being long term. We use adaptive agile life cycle, as I explained in the beginning also, where the requirements are evolving. Requirements are changing. By the time you develop something, there are many things have changed or many new things have come up. So when there is no final size or shape of the product has been worked out, when we are not very sure about what kind of product we need or how it will look like, in that case, agile is generally a good method to move on. Now, what is about the stakeholder involvement? The predictive traditional life cycle, it is not expected that you will engage the stakeholder a lot. A stakeholder, customer, or the users can say, we have given you the project, you do it and give it to us. And that's what the traditional or the predictive life cycle does. In hybrid life cycle, generally the delivery happens or the engagement of the stakeholders happen at the phase end or phase begin. And why in the adaptive life cycle or the agile life cycle, it is a continuous process. So even during the iteration, which is of 2 weeks, you keep engaging the stakeholders. Now they have everything has a plus and minus. So there are plus, there are minuses also. Now, not only this, you will see that what is the frequency of the delivery in different life cycles. In a waterfall project management, waterfall means predictive, or I will say plan-driven, also called plan-driven, also called predictive, also called traditional approach. We do only one delivery at the end, right? In the agile, we do frequent deliveries, like every 2 weeks, or probably every 1 month, something like that. But we are doing very frequent deliveries. What is hybrid? Hybrid has been divided into phases or stages, and generally delivery happens at the phase. So it's neither like a predictive, which has only one single delivery. It is not even like in agile, which is having a very frequent deliveries. Hybrid has a staged delivery. You can say staged deliveries, right? So it's not complete continuously development thing. Neither it is a one-time kind. So that these kind of things actually make a significant difference in these life cycles. things. Right? Now, let's look at it. I think generally the predictive life cycle is very simple. You start with the requirement, then go for design, development, testing, deploy, deliver. Okay, acceptance. But a lot of people, especially in non-IT segment, the agile is not that well-known kind of things. So adaptive approach, which is an agile approach, is something like I will just explain you so that you have a better idea that how it is done. So what I'm explaining you is what you see here, right? What you see here is what I'm going to explain it. This is just one iteration. This is, right? Just this. So I'm talking about, I'm just explaining you one iteration. One iteration, probably this is what happened in 2 weeks. So there is a product owner who is responsible or accountable for requirements. A collection of requirement is backlog. When you prioritize the backlog based on your criteria or based on your value delivery kind of thing, it is called a grooming, or a prioritized backlog is a groomed backlog. Now this is a collection of requirement. You can say requirement document, and it keep growing as the new requirements come or requirements keep changing. So it is always changing kind of things. So that's not part of the iteration. The iteration start with the sprint planning. What is sprint planning? Sprint is an iteration. There is a methodology. There is another practice, I will say, agile practice. Agile also have many practices. As I said, many people were using this kind of method. So all are using their own practices. So agile has many practices like called Scrum, called extreme programming, called Kanban, called Crystal, called feature-driven development, DSDM, and there are many names actually. But you know, over a period of time, some practices have been now obsolete, some practices are less used, and some practices have flourished. The most flourished practice of Agile is Scrum. So what we are understanding here, Agile, from the eyes of Scrum. So whatever the terminology which you are seeing here is of Scrum, and I will just explain you what is a common terminology beyond, like if you say common Agile or a Scrum. So what terminology you are seeing is of Scrum. So product backlog is a common terminology. It's not specific to Scrum, but grooming is specific to Scrum. Now, sprint is specific to Scrum. Sprint is a iteration. So the common name for sprint is an iteration. So when you say sprint planning, it means iteration planning. So iteration planning means you pick up some of the requirements from the backlog, which you think can be done in 2 weeks. I'm considering that cycle is of 2 weeks. Okay, based on that, I'm telling you. Not always the cycle is of 2 weeks. And then who does this? Generally, team does it with the help of Scrum Master and Product Owner. Now, Product Owner, I explained you, is the owner of the product. There is a Scrum Master. Scrum Master is a facilitator, team facilitator, is a kind of a team lead kind of things. Team is a people who are actually developing the things. So team facilitator is generally a little senior, and his job is to facilitation, not to do a project manager jobs, right? So the team, who is the main actor? The main actor is team. So team does this with the help of Scrum Master, the team facilitator, and the product owner pick up the requirements, put into the sprint, then do the estimation of each feature, which is called a story in Agile, and then break down this into the activities and assign the activities to the team members among them, right? Generally, all sort of team members are expected in the team. Now, then they go for 2 weeks. So that can require probably half day or 1 day. And then you go for like 7-8 days for developing. So every day you come and do a daily stand-up meeting. In Scrum, it is called daily Scrum. So you do your work, and in the morning for 10-15 minutes, you come together, all team members come together, discuss what happened yesterday, what is going to happen today. And this is called daily stand-up meeting, generally of 10 to 15 minutes. And in Scrum, it is called daily Scrum. Now this keep going on for 7-8 days. And then they have come out with some produce. So what they picked up, they might have developed all these things. Now what they have developed, it is a potentially shippable product, which is subject to review. So then there is a sprint review happen, that is iteration review happen. The product owner, scrum master, and other stakeholders can be called, team demonstrate them what they have developed. Something is accepted, what is accepted can be shipped, what is not accepted, modifications are given, modifications are added to the backlog. And if some new requirement could be suggested because of this, or something had come, they can also get added to a backlog. And then team does a retrospection. How well we did the last iteration? What went well, what didn't go well, and how we can do it better. Okay, it's a kind of lesson learned exercise where you can identify what better can be done in next iteration. And then you keep doing this like every 2 weeks and keep improving it through the sprint or the iteration retrospect. And this is what the agile principle, agile life cycle is. So agile life cycle is a continuous iteration of this type until the product backlog exhaust, or the money exhaust, or a stakeholder think that whatever is developed so far is good enough, there is no further thing required. So they stop it. Similarly, there is a hybrid approach. So hybrid approach can be seen like this. It's a project of some means we have done requirement, high level thing, and then we have a phased deliveries at different time. So you can see in each iteration, the difference between this iteration and this iteration is that the agile iteration is fixed of 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever it is, but it is fixed throughout the project. But here the phase iteration, the iteration which is called phase, is not fixed. Some could be 2 weeks, some could be 1 month, some could be 2 months also. But as agile got popular, the phase size is also decreasing in hybrid development. Right? And then you do the testing, final testing, acceptance. We are doing this because it is easy to explain, but there could be other types of blending also possible. But this is most common one. Your requirements keep changing. So at every phase, you can have a requirement review kind of things also. So changing requirement can also be adopted. Now look at it. What is like hybrid? What exactly in the hybrid development approach? Because as I said, that's going very common. Right? It's combined the adaptive and predictive life cycle, use agile or iterative practices within predictive framework. Okay, or vice versa. It can use a predictive framework within agile or iterative practice. Both are possible. We will see it later. Use predictive artifacts or processes within an adaptive life cycle. Both sides are possible, right? Use iterative and incremental development. So it actually encourage the iterative incremental development, which agile also does. So in predictive, if you influence by iterative and incremental development, it becomes hybrid. It can be done when there are requirements available, but they are not very certain. There are some uncertainty attached to it. You can modularize your requirements, deliver at different time, and it does not require stakeholders to get engaged continuously. So many times your customer is not ready to spend that kind of time with you, which you are expecting, which is or Agile expect. And in that circumstances, it would be very difficult to adopt to use an Agile. Right. So as I said, it is also useful when customer is basically, yeah, is available for close coordination, and you can run with some kind of not continuous coordination, but close coordination. Okay. So Agile requires a continuous engagement of the customer or the stakeholder. Now, how planning we are doing? How we doing planning when these in this different life cycles? So how the requirements? So you have predictive, you have hybrid, and you have adaptive life cycle. How the requirement specifications are done in the very beginning. It is requirements can be elaborated at every development cycle or every phase. And in adaptive, you have to continuously churn the requirement, or you are continuously requirements are churning. So every 2 weeks here before the phase or during the phase, and here the requirement specifications are quite firm. Yeah, they are not expected to change much. Delivery at the end, delivery at the phase, delivery at the each iteration, as we have already discussed. Now, how the change will occur? The change are occasionally and are handled through a proper change management process. In predictive, in a traditional approach, change is generally not expected. When the changes come, we expect them, we process them, we have a very formal approach, getting all the things properly, that what changes required, what kind of impact it has on the current deliverables or current requirement, what kind of risk will get added, how much cost and scheduling created, and we incorporate them in the project through a very solid change management process. While in the hybrid life cycle, the changes are more frequent than predictive. So when we apply hybrid, when the requirements are not that firm, but also not that kind of volatility like we generally use. So a hybrid we apply where we expect fair chances of changes in the requirement. But in that we generally handle them. We generally bring changes between the two phases. So incorporate at the periodic interval. Flexible change management process is generally applied here. Right? We are not very rigid on the change management. We are little, I will say, flexible in and accepting changes. And at every phase, we can relook at those changes. But in adaptive agile life cycle, the changes are incorporated in the real time. As the change come, we just directly put into the backlog. We do not, there is no change management process. The change management process does not make sense altogether here. Right? There is no change management process. Bring the change, as the change come, it get into the backlog. When reprioritization happen, if it comes on the top, it is immediately taken for the implementation. It get implemented and delivered, depending upon its like priority. The stakeholder involvement is at milestones in the predictive. In hybrid, it is a periodical time, like maybe every month, every 2 months, every 1.5 months or so, or few weeks. And in adaptive, it is a continuous involvement is required. In fact, many times the user or the customer or other stakeholders are involved in a daily stand-up meeting. So that kind of collaboration will be happening in Agile. Risk and cost control. So throughout, detailed planning of the mostly known considerations are done in the beginning itself in the predictive. In hybrid, the things are generally progressively elaborated. So risks are identified not at the beginning, but during the time also. As the new things unfold, we identify the risk and adjust the cost budget. And risk and cost control is little weak in Agile. But the risks are generally identified because the planning is only happening for 2 weeks. So as the new requirements emerge, at that time, we do the risk and cost control. So when the cost control and risk is very tight on the predictive, that is the traditional approach, and a lot of focus is there. In Agile or adaptive life cycle, this part is a little weak because our view is not very long, and risk is not something which is to be seen in a very near future. It is generally requires a foresight. What is going to happen 6 months down the line, 3 months down the line. But when you are not planning, you are not even looking for what is going to happen in 6 months. You don't know really what is happening, what kind of risk you can really assess, right? And that's why the cost control is also weak. And that is why many agile projects come to an end, because customer has exhausted its funds. But the good part with agile is that whenever you close it, you have a working product in hand. That's what the beauty of the agile. It is always working product. So that is the beauty of agile, and that is why like it is still working despite a weak control on the cost. Now look at it. As I said, predictive and adaptive are two different side of the spectrum. And so how do you say the more adaptive and less adaptive or predictive is what is the iterative and incremental approach? So as you adopt more and more incremental and iterative approach, you move towards the more adaptive life cycle. Right? So more on predictive side, less will be the iteration. And more on adaptive side, more will be the iterations. Now look at it, which kind of life cycle is really useful. So if you look at it, if I number them as such, this is number 1, this is number 2, number 3, number 4, and let me call this as a number 5. So number 1 is the quadrant where the requirements are certain actually. Requirements are certain, but technology is evolving, or the technical part is not very firm. So by using small iteration, you can develop skills in the technology. It gives you the bandwidth of doing that. Most of the agile projects work is the quadrant 3, where the requirements are volatile, but the technology is by and large understood and well done. Right? So most of the agile actually fall into the quadrant 3, where the requirements are evolving. So when we should use agile, when the requirements are evolving, technology know-how is good. Or otherwise, when the technology know-how is weak, but requirements are certain. Right? So you want to evolve and get hands on the technology. That's both the parts agile can be used. In the industry, most of the places agile is being used in the quadrant 3. Now, if you look at the quadrant 2, where the requirements are certain, technology is, you are well familiar with the technology. You have done projects. Your requirements are well known. Scope is well defined. It's better to use predictive lifecycle. Is better to use a predictive life cycle, because predictive life cycle will be less expensive and faster in this case, but only if the requirements are not evolving, not changing. Now, if you look at the quadrant 4, quadrant 4 is neither the requirements are certain, nor the technology is certain, or the technical part is certain. Even that is evolving. Either it is not fully developed, like today's AI. So today, if you look at AI is an evolving technology. Every day it is evolving. We all are bullish on AI, but if you see today, it's evolving technology. If you want to develop something, you have to develop by disclaimer that it is evolving, and by the time you develop, come with the product, it may be required a new version of AI. Simple, right? So this is very evolving, and your many times your because it is evolving, your resource may not be very strongly skilled. Even if it is not evolving, but resources are not strongly skilled, even then you fall into quadrant 4, and requirements are highly uncertain. In that area is absolutely risky project. You should do it. You can do it, and probably we can say try to avoid it. Bring some kind of certainty on one of the side. That will be better. Or if it is not possible, keep really very small iterations, maybe a week or even in days. That would be good enough. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to develop such kind of products. There will be a lot of resentment among the stakeholders if we go into this. Expectations mismatch and a lot of chaos can possible. Basically, a chaotic situation. Now, if you look at this, where the hybrid is coming into picture. So hybrid is coming into picture where the requirement certainty is not very high, but not very low also, right? It's not very evolving requirements, but you can expect a fair changes, right? So this area, something. This is high certainty area. This is low certainty area. And this is absolutely evolving requirement, volatile requirement, right? So this area is where the requirements are a little weak. I can say it's not very evolving and volatile, but they are weak. And this is the area where the technology is weak, means your resources are not very skilled. That is also quite possible. And here you have strong technical skills. Here you don't have technical skills. So this area, this blue area is where you can apply hybrid lifecycle. And because there are a lot of projects are falling into that area, that's why hybrid lifecycle has become most common. Right? So let's select. So I give you situations and you select which life cycle is this, or which life cycle you should select. So this is one scenario. This is a software development project. Requirements are evolving. Customer does not have time for frequent discussions, cannot attend too many meetings. Technology is largely known. Some resources are skilled, other need to be groomed. Okay. So because there is no black and white situation at anywhere as such. So you have to assess that this is the situation, which life cycle you should select. So what I will do, I will give you a poll, post you a poll. So you can select that which you will choose, a predictive, hybrid, or agile, right? So it is in front of you. So now please select. I should keep it as little side, right? This come over. But I think you have read it.
So encourage more participants to vote. It's only
Yes.
around
Almost
50%
60%
people
have
are voting.
voted so far. I will give you other situations also. So vote and then you see that. And there is no right or wrong answer I'm talking about. I'm talking about your opinion on such circumstances. So what you have understood, probably what you're applying or what you already know, you're trying to apply it here. Okay. I think more people should attempt it. Okay, I will give you, I think, 10 more seconds, and then I will close this. Okay, I'm closing it. So about 80% people have responded, and this is the result. Okay, you can see the result. Almost 70% people have selected hybrid, and equal number of people have selected predictive and agile. Now, there is no right or wrong answer. Like, okay, I'm just giving you the situation and expecting you to respond, and you see that how the people are responding. I just putting that efforts. So I'm not expecting you, like, I'm not giving you any right or wrong answer for this. These are all situations in the real life situation which we have encountered, and in the when we are actually helping people in project management, giving them consultancy, helping them to adopt the right life cycle, helping them to improve their project management skills. And these are the situations which we actually encounter, and that's what I'm posting it to you. Okay. So thank you very much. Let's attempt one more time. One more thing. Okay, this is another one. So requirements are firm, very less likely to change. Customer is available on demand for discussion. Technology is largely known. Some resources skilled, other need to be trained and groomed. Okay, let me give you another thing, right? Yeah, you can select now. Okay, good. Looking good. So 10 more minutes, 10 more seconds, not minute, 10 more seconds. Okay, so this is, let me end it and share the result. This is the result of your response. Most of the people have selected predictive in this case, largely because it shows that requirements are firm, and technology is largely known, probably, right? Let me stop this. And in this time, the response was also good. Almost 90% people responded. So that's really good. Okay. So let me give you another scenario. Got it? Okay. So let me give you another time to select. Yes. Okay. 10 more seconds. Okay, let me close this. Okay. This time also, I think a lot of people responded a little lesser than the previous one. So largely people have selected hybrid and agile. And some people think that even though some people think that management has no experience, it's better to go with a hybrid. This will be more safer. But some people think that even though the management does not have any experience, because the situation wants a agile type project, I think we still venture into agile. That's a good response by. Let me give you one more such situation. Okay, so the details are continuously increasing as they increase. A 3 years large construction project, stakeholders are quite clear what they want. As the project is long-term and large, requirement may change due to user behavior, change in law and regulation, and many things are not done earlier. A lot of things are new also. A large project, you don't do everything never everything come into your experience. Customer is available and like to work closely with the development team. They understand the risk that that's a large project and many things have not been worked out. You have good architects, project management team, and technical team. Historically, availability of labor, contract labor is generally in short supply and reduced to minimum near major festivals. So they go home near major festivals and mostly work come to a standstill. Either it is Diwali or it is Eid kind of things. The labor actually drastically reduces. And throughout the year also, the labor is generally a challenge. Okay. The company has done several large projects, large and small, but never executed such a large order. This is much more the size the company has ever handled. Okay. So this is the situation, and I give you one more poll to do this, to give your opinion. Here you go. So 10 more seconds.
They have some challenges in submitting the poll this time.
Oh, really?
All people have put it on the chat box, a couple of guys.
Okay.
We have received only 16
Okay.
responses.
Let me close this because I think enough is done. Okay, so this and here are the results. So I think it is 35, 41, and 24%. Quite equally distributed among the people, right? This was the opinion poll, okay? Right? This is like an exit poll type of thing. Right? So it was an opinion poll, and people are quite divided into this. And you know, the one more thing, this time, okay, I think they face some problem also. The response is poor, but because we are saying that there's some problem they are facing. Okay. What is the problem? I got it, then resubmitted again, and it worked for me. Okay. Okay, I think there's some problem with that.
Yeah, few people had challenges submitting it.
Yeah.
Right
So
again, and it was
this time is the response got reduced maybe because of that. Okay, so this is one thing, and now the real quiz with for you. Okay, so real quiz for you now. Okay, so I will give you a real quiz. Yes, you can see this.
Yeah.
This is a question, right? This is a question, a situational question, a PMP question, or other certification you can say. Oh, okay. We have run out of time. Okay, okay. Just, I think it will take 1 minute and then we'll close. Okay, 10 more seconds because we are just already running out of time. We are already like overrun as such. Okay, just 10 more seconds. I'm just ending it. But response is very good. Most of the people are like replying on this. Okay, let me close this. So here your results are. Okay, here your results are, and the correct answer is this. So correct answer is C actually. And some people have, but majority of the people have selected B. The correct answer is C for this. Okay, this was the question to you. And if you have any question for a few, 1 or 2 more minutes, we can definitely take up those questions. So if you have any questions, anything in the chat or anything people want to say, we can have a few more minutes.
Chat box we have submitted, we have addressed all except one from Jyoti. We as project managers supposed to give right suggestion. Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
That's what role. That is a role. So
Yes.
you have to
You
evaluate
should.
and probably justify what is your decision.
That,
Support your
yeah.
and
That's the project management role. That's the responsibility of project manager, which I think the Kalyan is going to discuss in next webinar.
yeah,
Right, Kalyan?
yes, yes, yes. I hope people will start giving some ideas and send some inputs.
Right.
So, folks, next week's topic is an interesting topic. Who is a project manager? What is the role of the project manager? That's what we want to discuss.
Right. I'm seeing no questions. We are also overrun on the time. So thank you very much for coming over here, sparing your time, coming over here, continuously engaging with us, liking us, liking our things. These all recordings are generally links are sent to all of you people. They are also published on YouTube, so you can always watch them and encourage other people, your friends, to come and join this webinar. I hope they will also get benefited. Thank you very much, and I look forward to see you in the next webinar.